Quote Retreat by Sandor. One quote, one reflection, one thought that could bring a moment of light and energy to your day. Join me as we take a look at today's quote. The quote is by Dallin H, born 1932. It reads, "Desires dictate our priorities, shape our choices, and choices determine our actions." Let's take a moment together to explore the messages within this quote. Have you ever noticed how the tiniest desires can completely reshape someone's life path? It's like this fascinating domino effect, where what we want deep down ends up determining everything we do.
That's such an interesting way to look at it. And it reminds me of this powerful quote from Dallin H, where he says, "Desires dictate our priorities, shape our choices, and choices determine our actions."
You know what's really fascinating about that quote? It comes from someone who completely transformed his life multiple times based on his evolving desires, from being a prominent legal scholar to a Supreme Court justice, and then ultimately becoming a religious leader.
That's right. And looking at his career trajectory really shows how this principle works in real life. I mean, here's someone who went from teaching at the University of Chicago Law School to becoming president of Brigham Young University in 1980.
And what's particularly striking is how each of those transitions required not just surface-level changes, but deep shifts in priorities. Like when he moved from being a constitutional law expert to focusing on religious leadership in 1984, it wasn't just a job change, it was a complete realignment of his life's direction.
That makes me wonder, how do you think people can actually identify their true desires versus what they think they should want?
Well, that's where I think Oak's background in both education and leadership becomes really relevant. From his experience as a university president, he probably saw countless examples of students trying to pursue paths that didn't align with their authentic desires. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole.
That's such a good point. And you know what's interesting about his approach? He emphasizes understanding the root of our actions rather than just trying to change the actions themselves.
Exactly. And when you look at his work in religious freedom and constitutional law, you can see how he applied this understanding. He recognized that protecting religious freedom wasn't just about defending actions, it was about protecting the deeper desires and beliefs that drive those actions.
That really adds another layer to his perspective on human behavior, doesn't it? Like he's seen firsthand how important it is to protect people's ability to act on their genuine desires and beliefs.
And what's really fascinating is how this applies to creating lasting change. Instead of just focusing on modifying behavior, which often fails, we need to work on developing and nurturing the desires that will naturally lead to different choices and actions.
That makes so much sense when you think about why most New Year's resolutions fail. People try to change their actions without first addressing their underlying desires and priorities.
Right. And you know what else is interesting? This principle applies whether you're making huge life decisions like Oakes did, or just trying to develop better daily habits. The mechanism is exactly the same. Our desires create this cascade effect that ultimately determines our actions.
So if we want to make lasting changes in our lives, we really need to start by examining and potentially reshaping our desires, rather than just forcing ourselves to act differently?
Exactly. And that's probably why Oakes has been so effective in both educational and religious leadership. He understands that real transformation starts with helping people develop different desires, which naturally leads to different priorities and choices.
That's really powerful when you think about how it applies to leadership and influence. Instead of trying to force people to change, effective leaders help people develop desires that naturally lead to positive actions.
And what makes this even more relevant is how it applies to modern challenges. Like, think about how this principle could help with things like digital addiction or work-life balance. It's not about willpower. It's about developing deeper desires for meaningful connection or personal well-being.
Well, that's fascinating. It really shows how this insight from someone born in 1932 is still incredibly relevant to our modern challenges.
And that's ultimately what makes this quote so valuable. It's not just describing human behavior, it's giving us a practical framework for creating meaningful change in any context. Whether we're leading organizations, teaching others, or working on personal growth, understanding this chain reaction from desires to actions is absolutely crucial.
Looking back at this whole discussion, it really shows how something as simple as understanding the relationship between our desires and actions can have such profound implications for how we live and lead.
You know what's really powerful about that? It gives us hope that real change is possible, but it also reminds us that lasting transformation has to start from within. It's not about forcing change, it's about nurturing the right desires that will naturally lead us where we want to go. With that, we conclude this exciting episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Your support truly helps this channel grow. See you again tomorrow. Yours, Sandor.